Hey guys, Corey with Faymus Media. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Panasonic GH4. So we're here looking at the Panasonic GH4. Oh my God, like, whoa, 4K in this little teeny camera that screams Red and Ari, look out because I'm coming to kick some butt. I don't know what Panasonic was thinking, but whatever they were thinking, they need to start thinking like this more often, and so do the rest of the companies. Because see, I've been shooting video alongside photography my whole life, and I was a part of the big movement with the 5D Mark II. In fact, Canon had the Beyond the Still competition, which I was heavily involved with, and I shoot video on my D4 and my D800. And I love the video they produce, but let me tell you something. The video that comes out of this camera is enough to rival the Blackmagic in ways, or the higher end video cameras. And in fact, this camera has been compared to the Red Scarlet and the Red Epic on YouTube all over. And while I can't compare them directly and give any thoughts on it, I can say for sure that this camera holds its own. And with a $1,600 price tag, no brainer. In fact, I'm so blown away by this camera, we're gonna give it a moment of silence. Okay, it's time to shoot. First off, let's just talk about why. You're probably thinking, well, what's going on? Why do I see a Nikon G lens on his GH4? Well, let me explain that. I really wanted to do the review with some really good glass, and I know that Nikon glass is tack sharp. I don't really care for IS or VR or VC or any of that matter when shooting the video. What I do want is a wider angle of view and good glass. With the Metabone Speed Booster, it actually brings the crop from a 2.3, I think, or a 2.2 down to about a 1.75, and it gives you one stop extra. So this is now a 2.0 lens, not a 2.8. So let's get started with that. We'll go more in details as we walk around, but by God, this thing shoots 100 megabits a second in all-eye intra, which is the same as the 5D Mark III, except 100 megabits is a little overkill for H.264 that the 5D III shoots, but for 4K, I am so in love with this camera, so in love. So let's have some fun. Let's take some video. Let's turn this thing on. First, we're gonna show you how to set it up. When you come along here, I'm gonna show you the menu. It's touchscreen, by the way, which you can enable. This camera's got all kinds of features that you would not expect from a camera. So cheap, so small, and you know, the value is amazing here because you got zebra, focus peaking, all kinds of stuff built in, touchscreen. You can go to your exposure meter here, set that to manual. You've got all different codecs here. Your recording format can be AVC, HD, MP4, or you can do movie. I got it in QuickTime Movie and record quality. You can do 60p, 24p, 30p, and you can change from 4K or 1080. Of course, we're gonna do 24p and 4K, which is what everybody's gonna wanna see. Your photo styles, we got Cinelite D or V, your standard, scenery, portrait, and you can set it up custom. However, I do like the Cinelite D as it looks very similar to the Blackmagic cinema camera, which is amazing for the price point of this camera. So you've got all kinds of features here. Another feature that I really like, if you see here, hit the FN3 button, you can actually zoom to focus. So you can actually do highlight for focusing, make sure your images are tack sharp, press the FN3 button again, and it is all gone. So you got that little extra peaking when you want to focus here. And it is absolutely amazing what this camera can do. These little nifty features that should be included with the 5D Mark III or the D800E. Let's take a walk around and show you some raw, unedited 4K footage. 4K. Have I said that enough times? 4K out of this little camera. Wow. I'm mesmerized here. Let's have some fun before I blow a gasket. So the GH4, to be totally honest, and I love Nikon, Canon, I love all kinds of gear, but the GH4 hands down is 3 times easier to operate with doing video production than any DSLR I've ever used. I can focus much easier with the FN3 button. It zooms in, gives me a little square that I can focus on to make sure everything's racked properly, and I can just get rid of it really quick, no lag, no choppy. It plays at full rate, even in that little picture-in-picture bar. It's really, really cool. About to record here some more footage in 4K. The dynamic range, it is unbelievable. In fact, what I'm going to do to show you how good the dynamic range truly is my videographer Ray is going to pan the building right now, and then I'm going to cut from his footage to this footage to show you the difference in the dynamic range, like right out of the camera. It is so awesome.
Now, let's go ahead and compare the two cameras against each other. First, we're going to start out with the 5D Mark II. And at first glance, the image looks good. However, the DSLRs are always clipping in the highlights and always crushing in the blacks and shadow areas. So as you can see, the New Yorker sign is completely washed out. Now when we go over to the GH4, you can see the blue sky, and you can also see the New Yorker sign. The highlights are within range, the shadow details and the blacks are all perfectly flat and ready to color grade in your NLE software. Now, we're going to go ahead and side-by-side compare these two clips so you guys can get an even better idea of how much the dynamic range difference is between these two cameras.
So what did you guys think from looking at those two comparison clips? As you can see on the 5D Mark II, the highlights behind me were blown out on the New Yorker building, whereas they were not blown out on the GH4. The dynamic range in a GH4 isn't really listed. It's rumored to be 12 stops, but whatever it is, it's fantastic. Very, very fantastic. I don't know why I haven't shot with Panasonic before. This is my first video review, although I've been doing video for a while, and the Panasonic GH4 is nothing short of brilliance. Take a walk around, do some video footage, and see what we come up with. I'm not going to be doing any photos really with it. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are going to want to see some photos, but you don't buy a camera like this for photos. You are obviously going to buy it for film. Most people use Panasonic for film anyway, and I'm having so much fun with this camera, I almost don't want to give it back. The highlights of the sun right here are not blown out on that building. It is amazing to see that the camera can handle this. This camera is nothing short of brilliant. 24p at 4K is a filmmaker's dream. I almost want to keep it, like I said. Don't want to give this thing back. Its price point is unbelievable. It's priced less than you could probably get a used 5D Mark III for. Then again, when you add the Metabone speed booster, you're right about $2,000 for both. Let's take a walk and get some more footage down here and see how it looks. The footage quality is just unbelievable. Cannot believe how good this stuff really looks on such a small camera and a compressed codec though, but it's a really good codec. The all-eye really does maintain highlight detail. I've never seen a codec work so well as this does with 4K in this camera. They've got all the magic together. Everything's working together in this camera. Everything. If I was looking to start out doing videography or films with DSLR cameras, I would forget about the 5D Mark III or anything Nikon has right now. If I'm strictly doing video, the GH4, I mean, is not only a serious contender, but I'd like to think it's at the top of the mountain when it comes to doing video. It's just mind-blowing. Like, I never honestly expected the Panasonic GH4 to look this good. I have seen videos from Panasonic and the GH2 and GH3, and they look good. And I knew this was going to look good, but I didn't expect this to look so brilliant. And I didn't expect the dynamic range to be so good. Now, it's also very sharp. From what I've seen, the video is very sharp. It's just overall in every way sharp, colorful. dynamic range. You can set the Cinelite D, which makes it flat and grade your own color later. It's a really, really good camera in every aspect, and all the bells and whistles that it comes with, like the zebras and one thing, you can edit the video files, 4K that is, out of this camera right out without transcoding. Final Cut 10, Premiere Pro, anything else you could possibly think of. I've taken footage out of here, go right into Final Cut 10, edit it, and export it. And with the Metabone Speed Booster, you can actually change the f-stop a lot quicker and smoother. Let's take a walk up here. So you're probably asking yourself, am I going to get good depth of field? What is the crop factor like in this camera? Well, it's a 2.3 crop. However, with the Metabone Speed Booster, it increases your focal range 0.71 times. So it's like shooting on a 1.72 crop factor. So my 24mm lens here is equivalent of about 42, which is pretty good. You want to throw an 85 or a 50 on there, you're going to get great depth of field. I even brought my 85mm lens so we could test that out. But let's get some shots here of the sunset and show the dynamic range that you're getting with this camera. Dynamic range is so good on this camera, but let's get some cooler shots down here. So with the Metabone Speed Booster, you're actually doing pretty good with the 24-70. Really, really ideal lens to have with the Speed Booster on this camera. Maybe the moment I turn away, maybe I got saved from that. Okay, so I want to record, but I want to make sure the video is sharp since I'm so wide. The only way I can do that is to zoom in with the picture-in-picture piece here. Just zoom in right on the sign, and I can rack my focus until everything is sharp on that sign. You can move it all over the screen wherever you want. Hit the FN3, it disappears. You hit record. Perfectly sharp. Dynamic range is just unbelievable. You can see everything here in ground level is beautiful, and the sky, you can see the blue color. It'd be pure white on any DSLR. And you get a lot of reach with this because the factor of it being 1.72. And 4K looks stunning. Just an unbelievably unimaginable camera from Panasonic. We're gonna get a couple more shots and we'll go over the menu. This thing is just freaking awesome. So now if you're asking yourself, is the dynamic range as good in this camera as it is in the cinema cameras from Blackmagic? Well, that's a good question, and I own the cinema camera. However, the dynamic range in the cinema camera is a little bit better because of the fact that it's raw, and you can pull highlights out and increase shadow detail just like you would a raw photo. This shoots in all-eye codec format in QuickTime for 4K, which is a great codec, great, and I mean absolutely marvelous dynamic range. It's just a marvelous camera, and the dynamic range in this camera is more than you'd expect, seriously, a lot more. Like, it's better than even I'm making it out to be. It really is truly brilliant, and the workflow is flawless. There's no delay times or transcoding. You just take the footage out, start editing it. Bam, you're done. It is fantastic. I bet you guys are going to love getting New York City in 4K. Ray, do you like 4K? I know you do. It is brilliant. He wishes he was filming me on this. I bet you do, Ray. I feel like I'm holding a D5300, and yet I'm getting the video quality of a cinema camera. My God, I love this camera. It is so awesome. So here's a prime example of what the speed booster can do for you. I'm shooting at 0.8 of an f-stop. Yes, you heard me. 0.8. Oh my God. Now watch the depth of field here. I've got more shallow depth of field right now than I do at 1.4 on my D4 or D800E. This is insane. It's pretty good because here at dusk, I'm still shooting at ISO 200. So the low light capabilities here at dusk are being tested, and I can tell you for sure, 100%, this camera is shooting better than the 5D Mark II or the D800E would. At dusk at this condition, I'd have to be shooting at around 2.8 ISO 640, maybe 1250, depending on where I was shooting. And I'm at ISO 200 right now at f5.6, and the dynamic range is just unbelievable. Let's get some crazy shots with the 85 0.8. Like, did you guys hear that right? 85 millimeter 0.8. Oh my God, 4K at 0.8. Did we just die and go to heaven or something? If I was to say that this camera was anything short of mind-blowing and perfect, amazing, the best I've ever seen, I'd be a freaking liar. I think I'm a Panasonic fanboy now. Wow, just so awesome. So to give you guys a little example of what we're shooting at, 85 millimeters on the GH4 is about 142 millimeters. So it's like we're shooting at 142 millimeters at 0.8. So bokeh looks good on 85 millimeter 1.2. Can you imagine 140 millimeters at 0.8? It's insane. Man, I am so in love with this camera. It is so awesome. Look at these shots that are coming out. They're rich, the detail, the dynamic range, they're sharp, the color. I don't see any type of blocking from the H.264 codecs you typically see in DSLRs. Such a brilliant, brilliant combination. So lovely. This is your dial, which of course will allow you to change the shot speed, the timer, any different modes you want in shooting photos. This is your microphone input right here. You got your PC sync port for flash right here. Then again, that's the mic again one more time just to show you exactly where that is. It's on the side here. You got your headphone jack, your micro video out, AV out, and your HDMI out right there. Then of course the screen flips and turns around. We're getting different angles and shots of yourself. Built-in Wi-Fi in this camera. Yes, built-in Wi-Fi is correct, it does have it. This is your FN5 to switch the viewfinder off and to go into the internal one, which is really good for sunny conditions. Of course, your auto exposure lock switch right here with different modes, your record button right there. Your FN2 button is right here. And the good thing about the FN2 is it allows you to peak your focusing and move and zoom in, which I'll show you right now, actually. Okay, so let me focus a little bit. There we go. So let's say I want to focus. You hit the FN3 button right here. And you can move it wherever you want. You can zoom in or out. It'll allow me to focus on that light per se. There, I'm focused on the light. You hit the FN3 button again, bam, everything's focused on the light. Just amazing. You got your histogram right there, your FN2 button right here, your display button, which changes different displays, FN4 for going back or erasing things, another quick menu button, and of course the main menu right here, which will allow you to go to all your different settings, which we'll get to in just a second. You got your rear dial right here. The top front dial is right up here alongside with your ISO, your exposure compensation, your FN1 button. Once again, it does have built-in Wi-Fi. Your white balance is right here, and your shutter button. Of course, this pop-up built-in flash. This is the locking dial to let you turn from video into photo modes and your custom 1, 2, and 3 settings. Aperture priority, shutter priority, full automatic, and you just press this button to lock it down, and you'll have no worries right here with moving the dial. Coming back to the menu, you've got speaker and headphone volume, your live view mode. You can change the display rate on that. Monitor display, you can adjust the brightness, or you can set it over here on the right with your touchscreen to auto, where it'll adjust during the day for you, which of course I don't have. Monitor luminance, you can change the brightness of it. Battery settings, USB mode, connection mode to TVs, all kinds of goodies. And then coming up here, you can go to your auto exposure lock, shutter lock, custom memory, auto assist points, all different types of different shooting for photography. Then you got your video with your different styles right here you can go through. I like Cinelike D better, scenery, monochrome, portrait, Cinelike V standard, they're all great. This is the most film-like though in the D setting. All your different record formats right here. I like movie the best. Your different record formats right here. 1080p is great, but the 4K at 24p is the best. Some people say 3800 is not true 4K. It really isn't, but it's so damn close and so great that I'm not even gonna bother complaining. You have your different color bars, of course, wind cutting for the microphone, different level adjusters and displays, sound outputs, and it has all kinds of different settings for the different color. The dynamic range and the color that you're gonna have. The resolution is high. My dynamic is set to high. It could do auto, low, or standard. Metering modes, the highlight shadows, you can change the depth of those, which is fantastic. It's just an awesome all-around camera in every way that you could possibly imagine. It has everything. All your different playback settings. What a camera.
Now, let's take a look at the low light test. ISO 200 through 400 has no noise whatsoever, and that's where you're going to spend most of your time shooting. At ISO 800, you need a magnifying glass to find any noise here. However, by ISO 1600, the noise does start to creep into the image, and at ISO 3200, the image begins to break apart. Remember, the GH4 is about twice as sensitive as a typical DSLR, and at 6400, it's almost completely unusable. The Panasonic GH4 is the camera that DSLR videographers have been waiting for forever. High dynamic range, 4K video, and 422 color space. There isn't a DSLR on the market that can compete with that. In fact, the GH4 is such a splendid video camera that it overshadows the fact that it's also a great photographer's camera. 49 autofocus points and 11 frames a second. That puts the GH4 in the same class as the Nikon D4S, which is priced literally 4 times the amount of the GH4. But it can't shoot 4K video like the GH4. Not to mention the GH4 is a micro 4/3 mount, so you can mount all those lenses from Olympus and, of course, Panasonic. Not to mention the fact that you can get a Metabones speed booster adapter, and you can also put Nikon lenses on this camera. And if you're looking to upgrade your DSLR or your video camera, I highly suggest looking at the GH4 first, because this is the evolution of DSLR video. And in fact, it's safe to say that the GH4 is the king of the DSLR realm.
So guys, the Panasonic GH4 is a great camera, but in all honesty, from me to you, I'm being 100% honest when I say there is nothing that I can say that is going to come across strong enough to illustrate how amazing, how brilliant, and well thought out the GH4 really is. I think the GH4 is the standard to go to for any DSLR shooting, and if you have Nikon lenses, then I think you should stop shooting your video on Nikon and buy a GH4, because all your lenses will work with the speed booster. Hands down, I have never seen video so colorful, such a broad dynamic range. So you're getting a workflow format that is better than anything you can imagine. All-eye codec format wrapped in QuickTime movie setting. That means you can go right into Final Cut Pro 10 and do all your editing and have no issues whatsoever. How come Nikon and Canon can't do that for us? Please explain why Panasonic have put it all together in this masterpiece, and I mean a masterpiece of a camera. It just blows my mind. If you're not shooting on a DSLR right now for video, this is an excuse to do so. And if you are shooting on a DSLR, I hope it's a Nikon so that you can use all the great lenses with the speed booster. Like I said, amazing, can't go wrong. If you are looking to purchase this camera or any of the lenses I use, like the 85 1.4, the 24 to 70 2.8 that I use, then definitely use the links I provide down there in the information box. And of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Corey with Faymus Media. Happy shooting. You're still recording me, huh? Nice. About an hour after the review video finished filming, and here I am still playing with the GH4. Go figure. I'm married to it. Practically. My wife is going to kill me for that comment. But man, this damn thing is amazing. I'm shooting at ISO 400 in the dark, and it's spectacular. Man, I love this camera. Love it so much.